Hello and welcome to Cut Through the Noise. Cut Through the Noise is the podcast that helps business leaders increase sales through clear, smarter communications. Today, we're stepping back and looking at the big picture. This is season 13 of the podcast. I'm Aisling O'Rourke, your podcast host and founder of The Communications Coach. Today, I'm particularly excited about talking about this issue because, it's one that's been challenging me, and it's an episode where I am going to share what I've been doing and, practicing what I preach, but doing it in public and potentially failing in public because, all of these things, when it comes to AI, it's new technology to all of us. There is an element of trial and error. But I've started noticing this particular issue more and more in my own work with clients and general conversations when I'm at events. And we're all starting to think more about our website and how we might optimize it for these AI tools that we've been talking about on this season of Cut Through the Noise. Way back in the day, before we knew what generative artificial intelligence or large language models were or meant, we all worked very hard to make sure that our brand websites, company websites, organizational websites were SEO perfect, i.e., they were optimized for search engines. So when I was learning about this back in DCU in Dublin City University as part of our media technology module, it was explained to me like this. So basically, when we put any content out online, we had to think about the search engines that might be able to connect our content with a human being searching for information online, whether it was a Hotmail search tool, a Yahoo, a Google, Bing, whatever platform it was. They sent out spiders to the internet to track down all of this information and to create a web of connection between my content, my website, and the search engine website in order for it to be able to share it then with somebody who searched for a relevant topic. So, i.e., someone wants communications coaching in the Republic of Ireland. The hope will be that because of the way my website is designed, thecommunicationscoach.ie will pop up there on Google for them. And there are many people right now who are trying to convince you that SEO is dead. And that's just not true. Because for many people, and yes, potentially for older generations, okay, but regardless of generation, for many of us, when we need to find out a piece of information, we still go to Google, to Yahoo, to Bing, whatever that search engine preference is. We're still using that habit, that physical habit of pressing that Google button on my home screen on my phone to look up information. However, people are more and more using AI tools to get information as well. So we do need to learn about, wait for it, AEO. Remember that old McDonald's song, E-I-E-I-O? I can't, sorry, I know that's a really bad joke, but it's just, it's playing in my head. In addition to SEO, we're now talking about AEO, Artificial Intelligence Engine Optimization. And that's it. And it's the same idea. We're trying to make our websites friendly to the AI search engine tools in the same way as we did for SEO and the Google spiders back in the day. We used to, when this was happening, think of our websites as being read, and there was a massive emphasis put on stuffing the websites with as many keywords as possible, regardless of whether or not it looked all that well. Like, let's be honest about it, okay? That's where all these categorizations and tagging came from. That's no longer the full picture. Our websites are now being interpreted by these AI tools. And that means that right now, how you communicate and how you create your website and how easy they are to navigate for these AI tools is more and more important. So We have to keep it really simple because otherwise we're going to get overwhelmed. Okay. So at the end of the day, clarity will always beat clever, hands down, every time. If it's not immediately obvious to a complete stranger what you do or what service or product you offer from your website, AI will struggle to interpret it. So, first job of this episode for you is get a stranger, or even better, a child, to look at your website. Is it blatantly obvious? Secondly, repetition builds authority. Your website should consistently reinforce what you want to be known for. So, if the AI tool starts scanning your website and on page 1, it talks about communications coaching, but on page 2, let's pick something entirely random, it talks about how I'm trying to create a biodiversity-friendly garden. That's confusing because there's no obvious connection between the two. It has to be really straightforward. And the consistency of everything on your website does need to be reviewed. And to be honest, we all should be doing this anyway because, our businesses evolve. The services that we offer evolve. How we want to be contacted evolves. So it's no harm actually sitting down to conduct an audit of our websites. Are they still portraying our services, our businesses, the products that we sell in the way that we're doing it now? We need to double check that nothing on the website's out of date. And then we need to create an FAQ section. I need to work on that one because I don't think I actually currently have one. So that's going to be my homework for this episode. So we need to ask real questions. So in my case, it's thinking about the questions that clients and potential clients ask me when they're thinking about working with me or when they're learning about a new service that I offer. I need to create a list of those questions and then turn those questions into actual content that gets posted onto my website in an easy to follow way. And that's something that I've always struggled with. I'll be honest. I have toyed with blogging and newsletters, and I am bringing my newsletter back. You'll be glad to hear. But sometimes it's not as consistent as I would like it to be. And I have to be honest, and I talk about consistency all the time, but even I find it hard because life happens. Curveballs arrive when you least expect them or in fact want them. So, it's really useful to sit down and review all of this because we have to be really honest with ourselves and remember that we need to look at our websites in particular like we're a complete stranger and we haven't a clue what this company offers. Forget all that inbuilt knowledge. And that's why it is often really useful to get some help with this. And I know I'm a communications coach. I'm going to say that. But I can look at a client's website and spot mistakes, inconsistencies, confusing messages, because I'm an objective observer trained in communications. I'm not an expert in the baby that you've created over the past number of years. So, and even for myself, I'll often get assistance with my own website, my own branding. I've spoken about my podcast editor, Amanda Fitzgerald, and how she helps me in my previous episode of this podcast. I will often bring in experts to help me do that for myself because it's really hard to see it for yourself. If you're listening to this episode and are beginning to realize that actually in your business, communications is one of those areas of your business that is getting pushed further and further down the priority list, well, you might enjoy the Clarity Collective. It's my monthly mastermind designed for independent business owners who want to communicate more consistently, market themselves more effectively, and stop reinventing the wheel every time they sit down to create new content. We talk strategy, visibility, systems, and practical implementation, including how AI tools can support what you are already doing. You can find all the details at thecommunicationscoach.ie. And now back to today's episode. Now we have to also, in all of this, think about our personal brand. And your experience and what you bring to the table all contribute to how you're being understood by an observer. And in this case, it is these AEO, EIEIO. I'm sorry, I can't get over it. Okay. But your AEO spiders, for want of a better word, they're all going out and they're searching these things. And like, it's something really simple that you can do, and you can use AI to help you do this. And I have done this for my own website, and I've done it again and again. I've put my own website into my preferred AI tool. I've asked it about artificial intelligence engine optimization and asked it to audit my website. Now, initially, when I did this, what I came back with was just overwhelming, and I was never going to have the time to go through all of it. So then I got smarter about the question that I was asking, and I asked it to audit the website for AEO purposes and give me 10 action points, something that I could like simply do that particular afternoon. That actually helped. So again, we're going back to the prompts and the questions and how we're communicating. So then we need to think about the layout of our websites. So it has to be easy to navigate. Now, it has to be easy to navigate for a human being regardless. Okay. Is your website optimized for a mobile phone? I really hope in 2026 it is, because if it's not, you're way behind the times. But things like making sure that your headlines and your headings in the navigation panel on your website are clear and blatantly obvious as to what they are. You can add in, if you're doing a podcast like I do, you can add in transcripts for each particular podcast episode. All of this adds to the information that the artificial intelligence spiders have access to. And yes, I've just decided for the sake of this episode to call them spiders, because I'm sure there'll be another name attached to them, but it's the one that I think is the most appropriate. Like, they're all going out and they're building this web of connection, and we need to help these AI spiders do that for their particular AI tools, so that our businesses, our services, and our products start appearing in AI generated search results. And that's really important. We have to go back to real world examples and lived experience of you and your brand, testimonials of real people with their names, photographs, even video, all add to that potential for being found by an AI tool. But look, at the end of the day, this is a big piece of work. So I would encourage you to take it step by step. Okay. And even if today you did nothing other than ask a child or a third party what they think you do, if the only information they're going off of is what's on your website, because that's what an AI tool thinks you do. Secondly, ask your preferred AI tool that you have trained and you followed all the steps in the previous episodes of Cut Through the Noise. Ask that AI tool to audit your website for AEO purposes and to give you 5 or 10 action points that you can implement today, and go from there, because that's a really strong starting point. Look, it's about making sure that your website is clear and that it answers real questions. If I were to give you a final task on this one, it would be to ask your AI tool to identify questions that your target audience ask when they're using an AI tool to search for the services that you offer. And ask yourself, are you answering those questions? Because that's a really good place to start. So again, ask your AI platform, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whichever one it is, to audit your website and give you 5 to 10 straightforward action points that you can take on board for AEO purposes. Ask a stranger or a child to look at your website and ask what they think you do and what services or products you sell off the back of the website. And 3, ask your preferred AI platform what questions people ask AI search platforms for when they're searching for services such as yours. Provide answers to those questions on your website. We need to get over this idea of, okay, website's done, I'm never going to look at it again. That's just not reality. It hasn't been for many years, but I do think people have been very slow to that piece of information. It's really important that you're constantly renewing and reviewing your website to ensure that not only that it's SEO, AEO optimized and ready for action, but that it's still relevant and that it's still serving the needs that you have for it. This series is designed to help you think differently about AI and how you're using it as part of your communications strategy. And if you're ready to start that work in a supportive and structured way in a community environment, check out the Clarity Collective, my communications mastermind. We meet every month to discuss these issues. You can book a discovery call with me today at thecommunicationscoach.ie or email me directly to hello@thecommunicationscoach.ie. As always, the links are in the show notes below. Thank you for listening. Remember, it's a noisy world. Clear, confident and authentic communication is what allows you and your business to stand out in the sea of sameness. Stand out from that bland content called AI slop and cut through the noise. Have a great week.